Great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, and I'm going to run through this briefly. I'm happy to answer questions whenever they come up or at the end. And the first thing I wanted to start with is just giving you an overview of where CCA or community choice is available in other states. Thank you. Great. So this map is giving you a sense of where CCA is already available in other states around the U.S. Some of these CCA programs have been up and running since the late 90s. California enabled community choice in 2002 through legislative action, and MCE is the first CCA program that got up and running since that legislation was adopted. But since our launch, there's been a second CCA program, Sonoma Clean Power, that launched in May of this year. And there will soon be a third CCA launching in the city of Lancaster. They expect to begin serving customers in May of next year. The way that community choice works is that the local government agency becomes the power purchaser for their community. We provide the generation service, but the transmission and distribution continues to be provided through the existing incumbent investor-owned utility, in our case PG&E. So we work in partnership with PG&E to get the power delivered to you, and we serve all sorts of customers: residential, municipal, commercial, and industrial. This gives you a little sense of our history. We formed our agency in 2008. We began serving customers in 2010. We currently have 145,000 customers planned for 2015, and this includes the service that we provide in Marin, Richmond, and then the service we will be providing in unincorporated Napa County in February, and then the enrollment we'll be doing in San Pablo in May of next year. We've already seen a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions that is significant, and kind of going back to the reason that we formed this organization, it was a lot of work. It took a lot of time and effort, and it was really intended to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we've seen a lot of success in that area. We've also seen some customer savings, which has been a nice side benefit. In 2014, $5.9 million in customer savings for all of our customers, and it's been especially useful for our schools. The West Contra Costa Unified School District is saving $64,000 this year alone. The City of Richmond is saving $36,000 this year alone, and we have similar examples of other municipal and individual customers as well. Our board is made up of one representative from each city and town and each county that we serve in our service territory. So we currently have 15 members sitting on our board. Each official is a government official that's designated by their local government. This agency is in charge of overseeing rates, public power sources, power supply contracts, and other policies. And we also have compliance obligations with the California Public Utilities Commission. We have to comply with the Renewable Portfolio Standard and engage in reporting to the California Energy Commission as well. So customers in our service territory have four choices. They can continue to get their generation supplied by PG&E. That product is currently 22% renewable. And about 20% of the customers in our service territory have chosen to stay with PG&E for their generation supply. The default option for customers is this next one shown here, which is called light green. It's 50% renewable content. Comes in at a cost currently that's cheaper than the PG&E option. I'll show you a cost comparison in a couple of slides. And for customers that don't make a choice, this is what they receive. And then we offer a 100% renewable product called Deep Green. This one costs 1 cent more per kilowatt hour. So for an average residential customer, that's about $5 a month extra for that product. The final product shown here is a new offering that we're just now taking signups for. It's called Local Sol. It's a 100% local solar option, and it will be the first project that we're building for Local Sol is at an old quarry site in Novato, in the northern part of our service territory. It will be online in March or April, and we are accepting up to 200 customers for that program. if we see a lot of interest, we'll be expanding it to other facilities in our service territory. This gives you a sense of where our power supply comes from. You can see that we have geothermal power coming from the Calpine area there. We have some landfill waste to energy. That's what the little green flames are indicating there. We have a number of those coming from one from Solano County, one from Placer County, one in the Roseville area. The little sun icons are showing you where we have solar installations being built. Some of the solar icons in the Central Valley area are fairly large. We have a 23 megawatt tracking solar facility that will be up and running by March of next year. We have a 30 megawatt solar facility also in the Central Valley, and then another 20 megawatt solar facility being built for our customers. A little bit of small hydroelectric coming from the Tri-Dam area. And then you can see some powers coming from the western northeast there, Washington and Oregon. Those are more of our short and medium term contracts that are 3 to 5 years in length. Our long-term contracts, 20, 25-year contracts, are for California-based renewables because those are the ones we want to keep in our portfolio for the long haul. Our projects create a lot of union labor when they're being built, and also in the maintenance of the projects. You can see on the top left there is one of the jobs where we're building a lot of solar in Kern County. They have about 350 workers on site right now, but if you put together all the workers, all the jobs being created by our current projects under development, we're up around 700 right now, with a lot of union work hours that we're keeping track of. Oh, and I forgot to mention that we also have a wind facility that we just entered into a contract for that's going to be a 99 megawatt facility coming online for us next year. This gives you a sense of some of the local projects that we have in our portfolio or in the process of being built. You can see quite a few solar installations that are in the works. The Santa Fe solar installation has been up and running since 2012, but all the other ones that you see here are currently in the process of getting developed and aren't yet online. The picture on the bottom left there is showing the installation in Santa Fe that went in 2012. And I'm happy to talk about these others, but I won't go into too much detail, although it's tempting because we're really excited about all these local projects getting built. They're all about 1 megawatt in size. The two exceptions, just real briefly, are at the Chevron refinery, we have access through a land lease to 60 acres of land, and we'll be able to put 12 megawatts of solar at that facility. That'll be going up in about 18 months. And then the little green flame there is a landfill gas to energy facility that has been flaring methane for many, many years. So we're very excited to have that turned into some energy creation instead. We have a feed-in tariff that allows anyone in our service territory to sell power to us at a fixed price for a 20-year term, and that's where many of these projects are coming from. As we expand into Napa and Benicia, I should say, we'll expect to see more little suns and other icons popping up there as well. This is a residential cost comparison, and there's a lot of numbers here, but basically the bottom line is that the MCE light green product is the lowest cost option. And you'll notice here that customers are paying a delivery fee. That's the top row. The delivery fee is the same no matter which choice you pick. And that's because that's a cost that you pay directly to PG&E. Customers still get their bill from PG&E, and that line item doesn't change. The generation line item is where you see the differential there. So the PG&E generation rate is shown $46.75 for a month. The light green cost is about $6 less. The deep green cost actually is a little bit less. And you'll see the MCE Local Soul program is a pretty significant increase in cost. And that really reflects the cost of building a local product. But what we're doing with that product is passing through the feed-in tariff price that we pay the developer for 20 years. So the customer will receive a fixed price, not to exceed price of 14.2 cents for 20 years, as long as they stay in the program. So it's a nice way for customers that live under the trees or rent and aren't able to invest in their own solar to get into a fixed cost situation by signing up for our local solar program. I also want to explain briefly the PG&E fees, because although those are fees that customers pay to PG&E, if they start taking power from us, those fees are part of the bottom line. So we include them here so that customers can really see what the bottom line cost comparison is. I can get into those fees if there are questions about them, but they are just the simple explanation is that they are for PG&E to recover any above market cost of power that they made on the customer's behalf before they depart from PG&E generation service. But you can see that after those fees are added in, customers are still paying less with light green, but they're paying a little more with deep green. So that's often a part of the decision for a customer. This is just showing you what a customer bill looks like if they are with MCE. It really looks the same. The only difference is that there's a line item for generation, and instead of PG&E generation, what shows up there at the top is MCE generation. It's really hard to see it, I apologize, but there's a little green circle or green square around that showing the MCE electric generation charges. That's what changes. There's also a detail page that you can see right here that gives the breakdown, just as PG&E would give a detail breakdown of the generation charges. We do the same thing. This customer happens to be a deep green customer, so they pay that 1 cent per kilowatt hour premium, which adds about $5 to their bill. This is a commercial cost comparison. It's structured in the same way. The difference is that the rates are set a little bit different. Commercial customers are seeing a bit higher savings with us than our residential customers. And in some cases, the cost of deep green is actually less than PG&E. We had one of our cities, the city of Sausalito, last week voted to switch. They had been with PG&E. They'd been sort of a holdout city waiting to make sure the program would work well before they decided where they wanted their municipal load to get their power from. And last week realized they had been paying quite a bit more with PG&E for the last year and a half and decided they were going to go for deep green because it costs less than PG&E. So that's exciting to see that, and we've seen some of our other local government agencies make that choice to help with their greenhouse gas reductions. And part of the reason that we're able to offer lower rates, I should say we don't guarantee or promise to always have lower rates. There have been times when PG&E's rates have been a bit lower. Ours have been lower for a little over a year for all customers. But we're a not-for-profit agency. We're a local government agency, much like the city of El Cerrito. We don't have to pay shareholder profits, and so any revenue that comes into the agency is reinvested in energy efficiency programs, low-income solar rebate programs, and keeping rates low for customers. And now I'll talk a little bit about some of those programs. Our energy efficiency program is also funded through a $4.1 million allocation from the California Public Utilities Commission. We applied for that funding and have statutory authority to receive funds from the California Public Utilities Commission and to run programs that reach untapped sectors in our community for energy efficiency. We are currently focusing on the multifamily sector, and we have an on-bill repayment program that is available not just to multifamily but also residential and commercial customers to do deep retrofits in their building and achieve higher GHG savings and cost savings over time. We also have a residential and commercial component to our program, which I'm happy to talk more about if there are any questions. We also have a rebate program that is set up to create incentives for local installations and drive demand for more jobs for solar installations as well. But our board made a decision about a year and a half ago to shift our rebate program to really focus on low-income customers, because what we were seeing is that higher-income customers that were probably going to do solar anyway were taking advantage of these small rebates and getting a little icing on the cake, and we thought it'd be better to incentivize installations that may not otherwise happen. So we've been working with Grid Alternatives to help identify CARE customers, low-income customers, that are interested in solar and need help bridging the gap to get to the dollars needed to make an installation happen. And we've seen a lot of success in that program, and we're able to offer quite a few rebates, particularly in the city of Richmond last year, that got some solar on rooftops that we think may not have happened otherwise. We also have a pretty generous net energy metering program. So for anyone on the council or in the audience that is currently acting as a net energy metering customer with PG&E, their status as a NEMS customer would automatically transition as an MCE customer, and they would continue to receive the same benefit, but would receive a little bit extra. We have a couple of nuances with our NEMS program. We allow customers to get paid and get cashed out if they generate more energy than they use. We look at how much our customers have accrued in credits at the end of our fiscal year, and for anyone over $100, we mail them a check and allow them to cash that out. For customers that are under $100, those just carry over. They never zero out as they do currently for NEMS customers that are only served by PG&E. We also pay 1 cent per kilowatt hour extra for folks that generate more than they use, because that seems fair since our Deep Green customers pay that extra 1 cent. We have a couple of other local programs I'll touch on quickly. We've helped install electric vehicle charging stations at some of our municipal facilities. We're working with Tesla on a stationary battery pilot storage program to help some of our commercial customers and other public entities reduce demand charges during peak hours. And we're working with Bidgley and Schneider Electric on demand control programs that help reduce demand during peak hours. We also partner with the Marin Green Business Program and the Bay Area Green Business Program and provide some funding to that as well, because we have aligned interests. A couple of comments on the membership analysis that we conducted for the city of El Cerrito. We found that there would be a net benefit to providing service in El Cerrito, and that's really the litmus test that's required by our board to determine whether or not to move forward with membership in a new community. We didn't see a dramatic impact budget-wise, but the good news is that we didn't see a negative impact, and that's really the main thing we have to look for. The other thing that our board looks for is would we see a greenhouse gas reduction savings? Because that really is our mission, is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, get more renewables onto the grid, and get more energy efficiency programs in place. And what we found is that there would in fact be an increase in renewable energy consumption of around 16,000 megawatt hours annually, which adds up over time, and also a 5 million pound annual GHG reduction, which again adds up over time. And those things were important to our board as well in determining whether the expansion makes sense. This gives you a sense of the breakdown of accounts and the annual energy use in each sector. These were some of the factors that we looked at in our analysis. And I should mention that the assumptions in this analysis were tied, there's a timing factor that is a part of the analysis. We were making the assumption that service would commence in May 2015. And we were also looking at current market costs. That's probably the one variable that is subject to the most change when we do this type of analysis. Because market costs can change from time to time, that's something that is an important factor. And if there were to be a delay in moving forward, we would need to reassess that, particularly that piece, before determining whether to move forward or not. We also made the assumption that we would see a participation rate similar to the other communities that we've enrolled in, about a 20% opt-out rate, 80% participation rate. Those are some of the key highlights. So now just to talk briefly, this is my last slide, by the way, so I'm almost done here. The membership process. So these are the recommended next steps if the council does want to move forward. The first reading of the ordinance and the second reading of the ordinance. And I should mention that y'all will be following closely behind Benicia. They just did the first reading of their ordinance about 2 weeks ago, and their final reading was tonight. So I'd like to mention also that as our board has received a lot of requests from membership from nearby communities, we want to ensure that we're providing more greenhouse gas reductions and getting more renewables onto the grid, but we also want to ensure that we do a very thorough job of working with new communities in a slow, diligent, and incremental way so that we can do a lot of public outreach. When we did our mass enrollment in Richmond, we had over 100 meetings that were held in Richmond, the Chambers of Commerce, Houses of Worship, homeowners associations, schools, workshops that we hosted in multiple languages, workshops that we jointly hosted with the city, and that was really important. We also created a community advisory committee that helped us determine where the best places were for us to do outreach, which groups and community leaders we need to be particularly reaching out to and ensure they were informed. And this is important because customers need to be able to make a choice during the enrollment period. We are not currently taking any membership requests. We are happy to kind of see El Cerrito through to the end this year, but we will be shifting our focus as of 2015 to the enrollment in the new communities that have just joined. And our board will be revisiting any potential expansion to other communities about a year from now. So that's a little bit about the process. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.